Welcome into the WCS Coaches Show. Our game of the week this week is the Battle of Franklin, which is going to feature the Franklin Admirals at the Centennial Cougars. And with me for the third week in a row, I've got Coach Adkins. Coach, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Whit. The wives tell me, if I did one more in a row, just bring the bed sheeting down here and find a place to sleep for the next show. But no, it's been fun.
Gotcha. So a couple of rough weeks. Third time's a charm, right?
Sure, I'm hoping. Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, that's what we're working for. Yep.
So first, let's talk about scheduling a little bit. We don't often get 5A and 6A matchups in Williamson County. Some coaches in the past, and I think we're kind of getting past that, have been a little reluctant to schedule teams. Not Coach Hughes at Fairview. He'll schedule a big game every year. But this is a game you don't have to play. But obviously, it's the Battle of Franklin. So clearly something you want to keep going.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's one of those things where we talk about with our team. It means more than just to us, like to the community. The people of Franklin and what that looks like, and looking at that helmet and looking at the rivalry and seeing how long has Franklin kept it, or how long has Centennial kept it, and then the players, they have friends they've grown up with or played against or whatever, and then they talk about this game, no matter what the records are, kind of thing. They always can get excited for Franklin versus Centennial. So I'm expecting, it's a Thursday night game. I'm expecting a huge crowd out there on both sides of the field, and put on a really good show for them.
Yeah, moving the game up because of fall break. We'll get into kind of some of the scheduling part of that a little bit later, but shouldn't take away from the atmosphere in any way. Should be a great turnout.
Not one bit. Yep.
So this rivalry goes back pretty long time. Now, Franklin, the oldest high school in the county.
Yeah.
Centennial, built in the mid-1990s. When I was still in high school, you're a young buck back then.
A few years.
In this century, 2000 on, Franklin has kind of dominated the series 17-7. But recently, up until last year, Centennial's won 3 of the last 4. So last year, probably one of the crazier games you could ever imagine. Franklin's able to pull it out 22-21. Talk us through some of the things that went down, particularly in the second half and going into overtime.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game. We knew it was going to be close. Defense, early on and had made a, critical error that caused a touchdown, but they rallied and played a heck of a second half. And so we're sitting there, it's 4th down and 8. We're going into the south end zone, probably about around the 22-yard line. Call a trick play. We practice it all summer. Kids are excited to run it. We line up, we score, but Brewer Wilson didn't look to his left a little bit longer, and we weren't set on the left side, so they throw a flag. Well, we have no timeouts, so I immediately, with a hesitation, call another play. Kind of the same concept, but this time it was to Jack Flynn was a tight end. It was a tackle overset, and he caught it wide open. And then called a play again. This time was to Sean Gacka, and I told Brewer, I said, I don't care if he's triple covered, throw the ball to this guy, he will catch it. And sure enough, the concept worked well. He was triple covered, and Brewer threw an unbelievable ball to get the score. We had to go for 2, and everybody that played us in 7-on-7 that year would know that, and literally the play would be empty right, Sean, you do you. And Brewer knew, we kind of knew if he would stem inside or out, but we needed that 2-point conversion. To tie the game, and Sean caught that. So he caught the touchdown pass, he caught the 2-point conversion. Defense did a really good job to hold their offense to go to overtime. And, we're sitting there. We win the toss. We want defense to go first, so you kind of know what you have. Tackle for loss, and then the second play was a bad snap. We're tackling them about the 22-yard line, and we're trying to rip the ball out. And by doing so, we pull a face mask. Well, they score. Go for 1 and they get it. And then first play, I do a jet pass to Luke Thompson. He gets the edge and scores. And the sidelines like, Coach, you're going for 2. And I said, no, we'll go for 1. The defense was held them. I said, minus that face mask, it was going to be 3rd and goal on the 20-plus yard line. I said, no, we're fine. And, we go to line up to kick the extra point. It was a low snap. And Sean Gacka did a really good job of handling that ball. He goes out, and so it's our fire drill. And, working for it. And you can't see, it's kind of on the far side, north end zone, far side. And I see him throw it to Wills Jackson, who was over there. And he's a tall kid. I couldn't see him. Believe it or not how tall he is, I couldn't see him. But, when I saw him held the ball up, and the ref give, it was good. I mean, the whole sideline rushed the field. People were going crazy. I'm trying to find my wife, to hug her. It's my first game as a head coach to win against Centennial, and it's your first game as a head coach was an unbelievable moment. The players gave me a hard time. They said I kind of ran over a freshman. I still don't know who it is because he never came up to me, but I don't remember.
It's probably going to stand out in this.
Correct, yeah, but I don't remember that part. But I see it on film, like, oh gosh, I yell. But definitely, and just after the game, talking to people, and Coach Stewart was there at the time, and I loved Coach Stewart. We go back and forth. Back when I was at Stratford, and he was at East Nashville days, and so just talking to him and the Centennial fans, and my niece, Ava, she goes to Centennial, and just what that means for both schools and the fans after the game talking about it. To me, it makes it a no-brainer that, that's a game no matter what. You've got to schedule because you don't want to be the coach that everybody knows that you didn't schedule Centennial. So that's why I'll do it as long as I'm at Franklin. We'll always schedule Centennial because, like I said, it's a game that means more to the community, not just to the team.
Yeah, so last year is the first game. Kind of set the table, the way you pulled it out for the resurgence of Franklin last year. You lose that game, maybe mentally put you in a different frame of mind.
Could have, yeah.
So now here you are playing this game a little bit later in the season, not the season you've expected so far. Perhaps this could be just like what the doctor ordered here, a chance to stay motivated, out of region game, and pick off one of your rivals.
Oh, 100%. I feel like you're in my brain right now, Whit. But yes, I think this is a game where it could right the ship for us. We've talked about being so close, but yet we feel like we're so far away. And last week too with Indy was kind of the same scenario. And I always, and to me, I said, what's your legacy? Like, we have 4 games left. Like, are you going to be the team that continue the wins, to continue the win, to start another win streak for Franklin, right? That you come back, years from now and say, how was the reason why that we kept the streak going? Or is it going to be a situation where, you want to fold up shop? And then the kids, which they've never had that mentality. It's never been about the toughness or effort in all of our games. It's been the lack of execution. We've had a really good week. It's been a short week. What's crazy about this team is that, we'll rep plays and run them and still have missed assignments. But if I'll tell the staff in a game I'm going off cuff and I'll call a play that we've not ran all week, which to me I hate to do because I'm all about preparation, whether it was my playing days, military, etc. I just don't like the unknown. And every time I've done it, we've lined up, executed it, and had a big play. So I said, potentially, like, let's just not practice this week and just call everything off the cuff jokingly. Because I was like, because every time we do that, I just feel like we line up and we execute. So I don't know if we're just overthinking things or if we're putting too much stress on ourselves. And the thing, with losing too can compound things like that. So, but yeah, I think it's a situation where it's all about execution for us from here on out. It's not the talent, it's not the effort, right? It's going to be execution.
So I imagine a lot of these kids have grown up playing against each other, the Franklin Cowboys or whatever the leagues they've been a part of. What has been the talk around the locker room this week? I mean, you get a little bit different vibe because it is Centennial, or is it just business as usual?
I would like to try to say it's business as usual, but I will say we've been a little bit more attention to detail, a little bit more, guys holding it accountable if they mess a play up or something. I'm like, hey, we're not losing Centennial because of this. Let's run it again. So they get it too, and I think and so. I kind of tell the guys, like, if that's not what it takes, I'll just, say we're playing Centennial every week. If that's what it takes to get these guys to kind of like to be at the level of attention to detail and execution that we're trying to set at. And so, they've been talking, in the locker room, and like I said, anybody that has any ties to Franklin Centennial. I mean, one guy said he was going to Kroger and saw him in a Franklin shirt and said, we got Centennial this week. And just, it's so, like I said, it's a good thing. And the kids love it. They're not going to shy away from it. Just like last week we said, when you're playing a team in Wilco, throw out the records because you're going to get their best no matter what.
Yeah, no doubt. So we talked about it a little bit last week. You're really two possessions away from being a 500 team right now, instead of where your record is at. And last week, Independence, Independence, very similar to you guys last year, much improved. New coach, trying some new things. You got down by multiple scores, but I think a testament to you and your program. Your kids didn't quit.
Correct.
You're able to score late and able to be, continue to be competitive even with that early adversity you had to face.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we blinked and it's 21-0, and once again it was the offense like in the first half had 6 series, 5 3-and-out, and 1 for a touchdown, and so it's like late in the second quarter, and so you're sitting there, 21-7. But I told the guys like, hey, we had 7 perfect plays, and I was like, that means 11 guys doing their job, and I said out of those 7. We scored 1. We converted a 4th and long. Like we had, and the other plays were X plays where it's more than 12 yards gained. I said the shortest yardage that we gained, guys, was 7 yards because it was 1st and goal on the 7 and we scored. I said, so you have the ability, like you know what to do. I said, can you imagine if we had 15 plays of being perfect, like what that would look like? Because you look as a coach, you go back and reflect. Like one of our most solid units this year, good or bad or indifferent, has been punt. And, that was the first or second punt that we did. We only had 10 guys on the field. And they muffed a punt. And it was one of our gunners on the far side. And so I'm like, just imagine if we'd been there like we've been all year, you probably had an opportunity to get that ball. And so now it's 21-7 with the ball at midfield. And that's the momentum that we kind of need. And that's why I kind of tell these guys, like, no matter what you play or how you play, each phase of the game has its own importance. It has its own life of itself. And so, like, that's a situation where if the offense is down and defense is doing good, special teams needs to make that opportunity. And like, so, but if it's, offense is still, misfiring, defense, last week, we had more 3rd and long conversions than we did 3rd and short, which is an anomaly with that defense. Like, if you look at the stats minus, Ravenwood, we're the, one of the top teams in our region on 3rd and 7+ getting off the field because they do an unbelievable job with, Coach Addison and his staff on the defensive side of the ball. And so it was just a weird vibe. And, we block a punt right before halftime, get a chance to kick a field goal. And we laugh because if we were a yard further away, that ball kind of balks in because it hits squared up and bounced out. And so now you're looking at a 21-10 game. Well, then we had a couple big plays late in the fourth quarter or early in the fourth quarter, about 10 minutes to go. That puts us down in 1st and goal on the 4. We kind of sputter out. If we kick a field goal there, now it's an 8-point game. And so it keeps the team and it keeps everybody like, hey, there's still a chance. And to me, I even told them, I was like, guys, the defense will get us the ball back. I know we're 2 scores down, but let's go score. We can score 1 more. Like, and then like they asked, like, Coach, like when did you realize or when did you feel like we were out of the game? I said, honestly, guys, I said when it was 3rd and long and we had about 2 minutes to go in the game and they broke that play to get inside the 10. I was like, that's when I was like, that's why I felt like, well, that's the game. But like you said, with just the testament to these kids. It's 1st and goal on the 5-yard line, right? And Coach Blade, there's time on the clock. He would have done the exact same thing I would have done. You have to run the ball. You can't nil it out.
Right.
So you got to run plays, right? Because you got to have 40 seconds, either 35, 37 seconds, 4 seconds of play. And so I knew he had to run about 3 plays. And just a testament to that defense and Tegan Lee and Centennial Bruni and AB Andrew Brown, making plays or doing their job, exponentially that allowed Tegan and AB to make plays to keep them out of the end zone to make it a 21-7 game versus a 28-7 because they could have every bit in the world just folded up shop and just said we're done. But that's just, once again, that's who those kids are. That's their character. They're going to toe that line and make them earn it every play. And so that's why I told them, I was like, guys, we just got to execute. It's not our toughness. It's just execution. And so, talking about it last week or at one point because we had no returning starters from last year's team. I was like, and I kind of had like an aha moment. I'm like, you know what, guys? I was like, what? I go, we have 11 guys that like didn't start last year. I know it's later in the season, and I've told these sophomores, you're closer to your junior year than you are your sophomore year now in that mindset. Like, so, and they've grown up and gotten better. But when you're a sophomore and you're 14, 15 years old playing against, 17, 18-year-olds, that can be a difference. And so they've answered the call and done the best, and they've gotten better for it. I think we'll be better for it in the future. But I don't dwell upon the future when you still have 4 winnable games that, we go 5-5, get a little help, maybe squirt into the playoffs. Like, obviously, we need some help, and we've talked about that. But we can focus what we can control on, and that's Thursday night football against Centennial.
Yeah. So let's talk about that defense. It's kind of what you've been able to hang your hat on this year. You got a young squad.
Yep.
But, you've been able most games to keep your team within striking distance. You're going against a Centennial team that's kind of the polar opposite, a team that can really score it, but has had a lot of trouble stopping anybody. In fact, you throw out the Page game, they're averaging close to like 36, 37 points a game. So how do you go into this game? Like, how does that affect your defensive game plan? They got Mitchell Grandjean, who's had a great year at quarterback.
Yep.
Malachi Steele, who has had feels like every time he touched it in the Fairview game, he scored.
Oh, yeah.
When I was there in person. So how does your game planning go into that, knowing that, defensively it's going to be a challenge, but offensively, you might be able to make some plays against this team that you've struggled to make so far this season?
I think it's a situation, too, like defensively. I think for them it's just the old, the blue-collar work mentality of like, hey, this is what they do well. Here's what we do well. And this is what we've gotten better at. And so we look at that standpoint of what they do well and take away what they do well. And so defensively, they've done a really good job this week of emphasizing focusing on the little things, rallying to the ball. First man's got to make that tackle because they got, like you mentioned, those two guys that the ball gets in their hands, they'll try, whether it's a jet sweep or a quick pass or put line them in the backfield, like they'll do anything to get the ball in their hands quick because they got some of that burner speed. And so that's been an emphasis, and we've done it all week. But I think I guess an overemphasis of like rallying to the ball. The D-line coaches, Coach Connor and Coach Clarity, done a really good job of getting those D linemen doing their assignment. And then once the ball is out of their sector, they're hauling butt over to be that guy, to be the second or third guy to make that tackle. And so that's what I said. They've done a really good job for it. I think this week they're really prepared for it. Offensively, our staff is probably the most film we've watched, not because it's Centennial or anything like that, because they do so many different things defensively. I mean, if you look at the box, your head will still be spinning. I mean, they'll go odd front, they'll go 2s and 5s. I mean, they'll stagger to one side, they'll bring a linebacker outside in, like they'll go 1 high safety, 2 high, 3 high safety, and so you're sitting there like trying to find the rhyme or reason. And to us, like they do a really good job of creating that chaos for us, because it's like, some of those, Williamson County teams, this guy's going to line up here, come heck or high water, like you can take it to the bank. Centennial's defense is not like that. They'll give you this look, first play, this play, and then and literally, I've spent every bit of 25 hours on just tendencies, looking at, is it to the field, is it to the boundary, is it to the back, is it to the passing strength, running strength, trying to find rhyme or reason. And they've done a really good job of not having rhyme or reason as far as what they want to do. But I feel like they blitz really well. They bring some really good pressures. And so for us, we've really good job this week of making checks, and the offensive linemen getting their eyes up. Coach Cathy's always been, hey, get your eyes up. Look, you can't hit what you can't see. And so, having a good job like that, and having, Cameron Higgins back at the helmet as our center makes me breathe a little bit easier as a head coach in OC, because he does that really, really well for us. No matter what, he always makes sure that he's going to give us the best opportunity in the pass game to give our quarterback time to throw the ball.
So any guys you're looking at that you just say they got to play well tonight?
To me, I think it's a situation, on a Thursday night, having our practices, we had to combine our Sunday, Monday practice. So we've been full on Monday, Tuesday, which we've never done, but had really good practice. So it gets me scratching my head. Should we do it in the future? But, the kids, no. And it was crazy. Like, I've been on programs like, oh, we're going full. And these kids are like, we're in full, let's go. And I'm like, okay, 2 days in a row, which I tried not to do that to keep us healthy as much as possible. But I think, it's a combination of, the three-headed monster in the run game when, JoJo Panea, Liam Hodges, sophomores Liam Hodges and Chase Jennings, they all do different things well. JoJo is, I call it the Panea pop, man. Like even last week against Indy, he caught a pass out of the backfield and carried 5 dudes, 7 more yards. That kid has no quit and all grit, and I love his determination. And what I love more is that he's laughing more, he's smiling. Because last year he was like a cocoon. He would never smile or nothing. And I'm always getting him to laugh and cut up. But outside of those three, I think it's got to be Hudson Reed and Bronx Bruce Lower. Our outside receivers, basketball players came out this year and have done a really good job to help us. But I think, I know they've gotten better. The offense is coming to them more naturally. They understand the tendencies that I'm trying to instill in my quarterbacks with Roderick Gregg and Isaac Burgos of hey, it's the leverage here. So it might, might be a traditional slant. It might be a now slant, or it might be taking it 3 steps to give you that more room. And they see that now without having to coach them or tell them that. They starting to feel it come naturally. So I think those two guys in different roles as a receiver core that we have are going to step up and have a big game for us Thursday.
So, we talked, you mentioned a little bit about your preparation for this week. The plan, go out, get the win, and then it's going into fall break. Everybody on Wilco has a bye the next week.
Yeah.
What does your schedule look like? I mean, I know, you get a win on tonight, and then you wake up, teach that last day of class.
Yeah.
Going into spring break, that's always a good fall break.
Yeah.
Good feeling there. But what does your schedule look like? Because you can't just give them full 10 days off.
Correct. So I did last year. I brought them in, and because we have certain rules, because the standard is a standard about missing practice and what that looks like, and the punishment that comes with it. So last year I had 7 guys that missed, and so I kind of talked to the staff and stuff like that. So we'll come back Sunday. And I said, guys, and I told them, the parents back in February, when I had my parent meeting, I said, you're going to help me to help you. Like, get out of here early, but please be back by Sunday, because we have Brentwood. Like, we have to prepare for Brentwood. So we're gonna have a full practice. It's gonna be probably our longest practice of the year, because we've got to, it'll be film, so it technically doesn't start the time as far as on the field, but we'll do film for an hour plus, and then get on the field for a full practice regime to get us ready, because it's Brentwood. It's another big game for us, and we got to prepare for those guys as well. But they just know the consequence. Like, if they miss that practice, a coach is giving you this amount of time off. Like, if you can't make it there for a Sunday practice, there's going to be repercussions for it, and the parents are understanding, and the players are too. So I expect everybody to go off, get refreshed, enjoy a little bit of a break, but then come back that Sunday, afternoon, ready to go and get ready to prepare for the Bruins.
Yeah, this time of year, it's nice to get a couple days off. I know my coaching days, like, as it gets into the late grind of the season, you're always looking for a way to cut back on things or take some time off. So it's kind of unique.
It is, especially with the players too. And I like, because I've always been that kind of guy. Other places that I've been, that not the whole county has had a fall break at the whole school kind of thing. And so it's like, or the bye week. And so, on the bye week, if it fell on a fall break, we would go scout other games. But when I first got here, I'm like, hey, let's do this. Well, Coach, you can't. They're on a bye. I'm like, what about this team? They're on a bye. I'm like, and then finally, Coach Webb's like, Coach, they all take the bye the same week. We're all off together. So, but no, yes, it's good to get the kids, but also our coaches, because we're putting in the hours as well too, to go be with their families and kind of just take a step back. But even just like last year, where some people are going to Gatlinburg, some are going to the beach, but we're still texting each other, and kind of just not as much, but we're like, man, if you looked at this, or hey, what do you think about this, and just. We have a hard time turning it off, but we do a lot better. Like, I'll tell my guys, go be with your families, and then, it'll be my girls are, they're under 5, so they'll be in bed around 8 or 9 o'clock, and I'll be like, start texting. But yes, it's good this late in the season to get a bye week like this. Everybody can go away and kind of, heal up, physically, mentally as well, and come back and say, hey man, we've got these last 3 games. Let's go try to be 3-0, but start out 1-0 with Brentwood for sure.
Yeah, kind of just a clean slate.
It is, yep.
All right, well, give me one key you guys need to accomplish tonight to win this game.
I think tonight, like for us, I think it's going to be special teams. I really do. They've got a really good kicker. He's not as good as as Indy or Ravenwood, but he still puts it in the end zone. The coaches there, they like to do a lot of onside kicks and stuff like that to try to steal possession here and there. And so I think for us, having everybody where they're supposed to be at, communicating and executing, because I feel defense will be strong, and offense we're like I said, we're 1 or 2 plays away from being a different season. So I think this will be the game that we'll start to fire up, and hopefully won't sputter too much, but we'll be a lot more humming and less sputtering on the offensive side of the ball for sure.
No doubt. Yeah, they've pulled out a lot of onside kicks this year.
Yeah. And the way they do it is pretty tricky. I'll tip my cap to them. I like it. It's someone who has a lot of special teams background. I was like, there's some stuff that I like that they do that I'm like, hey man, this is gnarly. And Coach DeFada, my special teams coach, he talked about it. The one kick they've been doing against, I think it was Green Hill, and again it was against Page. Coach Webb had pulled that out of the hat against Indy many years ago, and then they were able to recover it. So I was like, well, I said, let's not make sure that Centennial recovers it on us this Friday. So we made some adjustments to our kickoff return to try to give us the best opportunity that if they do try to onside kick it, that we have the right dudes in the right place to recover that ball.
Yeah, those possessions are valuable.
Yes.
So, well, tonight's matchup, Franklin at Centennial. WCS game day will be in the house. It should be a great atmosphere, even though it's a Thursday night. Both these communities are going to come out. Coach, 3 weeks in a row. I appreciate you being here every week.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to have you here and talk to you. Make it out to Centennial High School tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff. If you can't make it, please tune in on WCTV, and we will see you next time.